When you think about the Great Pyramids, what comes to mind? Just sheer manpower? A pharaoh's command? Well, what if I told you the secret ingredient was beer? It sounds kind of nuts, right? But there's this persistent idea that the thousands of workers who built these incredible monuments were actually paid in beer. So is it true? Did the ancient world's greatest construction project really run on brew? Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, you gotta completely forget about money as we know it. Ancient Egypt didn't have cash, no coins, no bills. The whole economy, especially for these huge state projects, ran on a system of barter and rations. So workers didn't get a paycheck. Instead, they were paid directly with the stuff they needed to live, handed out from giant state-run warehouses.
And you know what? The historical records are amazingly clear about what that stuff was. We've got experts, like biochemist Patrick McGovern, who confirmed that a huge part of the daily pay for a pyramid builder was beer. And this isn't just some fun theory someone cooked up, it's actually backed by real archaeological finds.
All right, so if beer was basically the currency, who was cashing these, well, liquid paychecks? Was it just the guys hauling massive stones, or did this go further up the chain? Let's follow the trail of these rations and see who is really on the pharaoh's payroll.
And check this out, it was pretty much everyone. I mean, you've got your pyramid builders getting their 4 to 5 liters every day right there at the top. But look, skilled artisans working on tombs, they got massive monthly supplies of barley just for brewing beer. And even the high-status officials and scribes got paid in grain that they'd turn into beer. So it was definitely a tiered system, but beer was the common thread tying it all together.
And get this, it wasn't just a one-off thing for the Giza pyramids. This whole system of paying people in rations, especially beer, was the standard way of doing things across ancient Egypt. Didn't matter if you were a master craftsman carving a tomb, a quarryman cutting stone from a cliff, or part of a crew heading out on an expedition. Your pay was food and supplies, and beer was always at the top of that list.
But let's really focus on the amount for a second, because the numbers here are, well, they're kind of mind-blowing. It's so easy to hear paid in beer and just picture a guy getting a cold one after a long day. The reality, though, was on a whole other level.
So this is the number that matters. 4 to 5 liters. That's per person, per day. Just let that sink in for a minute. That was the daily wage.
Now, if you're trying to picture that, it's about 1.3 gallons. Think about carrying a full gallon of milk plus a bit more. That's what you're taking home from work every single day.
Or to put it in modern terms, that's more than 10 pints of beer every single day. We're talking about a small keg's worth of beer per person per week. Now, you're probably thinking what I'm thinking. How on earth did they build anything? That sounds more like a recipe for total chaos than for one of the wonders of the world.
But here's the twist, and it's a big one. This massive daily ration had absolutely nothing to do with getting thousands of workers drunk on a construction site. No, the purpose was way more practical. It was all about fuel. It was about providing the calories they needed to do backbreaking physical labor. And honestly, that changes the entire story.
Because this right here, this is the big aha moment of this whole thing. We have to totally redefine what we even mean when we say the word beer in ancient Egypt.
See, the beer of ancient Egypt was nothing like the stuff we drink today. Forget filtered and fizzy. This was a thick, soupy, almost porridge-like goop. It was basically a fermented mash of grain, and it was so incredibly nutritious and vital to their diet that they had a perfect name for it: liquid bread.
And the difference is just staggering when you lay it out. Ancient beer's primary use was as a food source, not a recreational drink. It was thick, packed with carbs and calories, and only a little bit alcoholic. It was food first, drink second. A total game changer.
In fact, it was so thick and grainy that they often drank it through these long straws just to get past all the sediment floating around. This liquid bread was an amazing, easy-to-distribute source of energy. It was so fundamental that even kids drank a watered-down version with their meals. Think of it as their energy drink, their protein shake, and their packed lunch all rolled into one.
So once you realize that this beer was actually food, you start to see why it was so much more than just a wage. It was literally woven into the fabric of their entire society, from everyday life all the way up to their religion.
I mean, this stuff was everywhere. It was a daily staple for everybody, from the pharaoh all the way down to the farmers. It was the main event at religious festivals. But it goes even deeper. They would leave giant jars of it as offerings to the gods, and they'd even put it in tombs to make sure people had something to eat and drink in the afterlife.
It was so important they literally had gods for it. You had Tenet, the goddess of brewing herself, and the powerful goddess Hathor was sometimes called the Lady of Drunkenness, connecting beer and celebration right to the heavens. You know it's a big deal when your main food group has its own goddess.
And that brings it all back to the practical side of things. As one archaeologist perfectly put it, if you were the pharaoh and you ran out of beer for your workers, you'd have a massive rebellion on your hands. Simple as that. It kept people fed, kept them healthy, and kept them working. It was the fuel that made the whole Egyptian state run.
So what's the final verdict? The pyramids really did run on beer. The claim is absolutely true, but the reality is so much cooler than the myth. It wasn't some kind of boozy job perk. It was the essential, calorie-packed liquid fuel that powered one of the greatest engineering achievements in all of human history.
And that gets me thinking, what about our world today? What modern job perk or form of payment? You know, things like health insurance, free lunches at the office, or even unlimited coffee. Do you think will seem just as strange and fascinating to historians 4,000 years from now? Drop your ideas in the comments. I'd love to see what you come up with.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this explainer with me. If you had fun digging into this little piece of history, do me a favor and hit that like button, and subscribe for more deep dives into the amazing stories behind the facts.